Starkle Trip 2K1 was a textbook lemur experiment. When we do music for our projects, we try to create or construct our own soundtracks or get permission from musician friends to use their material. In this case, we use the music of the late Glenn Hobbs and his group, Five Starkle Men. Glenn was a paranoid schizophrenic musician and writer whose music had a big impact on me personally. I was introduced to his stuff by a couple of friends of mine who had known and corresponded with Glenn. I intended the project as kind of a tribute to Glenn. I worked from two pieces of raw footage. One was a loop of camera feedback Panda had taped, and I pounded it through some filters, adding different colors to it. The second piece of footage we had been shot on the road, driving from Beaver Lake back to Fayetteville. I treated it in much the same way as the previous footage. In either case, we planted some concrete images into the abstracts, just some sporadic images I thought the viewer might find funny or interesting or disconcerting. Anything that might take them out of their own headspace and maybe bring them someplace else. After that, we took the footage and just kind of scrambled it all together. Mixing tapes became a big thing with us around summer '98. At the time, we were experimenting with different effects, filters, alternative lighting and exposures. We'd take some of this treated experimental footage we'd shot and hammer it through two different sets of effects. Then we'd run the both together, morphing them, scrambling them, smearing them. We go through any number of variations before settling on one we liked. We're really excited about what we come up with, and we're grabbing anyone who was on staff or anyone who was standing around. I was like, hey, come here, see this, check it out, look at what we did. A lot of the experiments we shot at Devil's Den and Lights of the Ozarks were actually not filtered at all. They're experiments that utilize the natural colors of the situations handed us. Starkle Trip is 28 minutes long, and it's a bit of an endurance test. It's difficult to watch and it's difficult to listen to, as pretty much all Glenn's music is. But at the Abbey of the Lemur, we're sometimes into that. The Abbey of the Lemur is a roving, free-form sociological experiment that's been going on for 5 years. We never know exactly what'll set people off. Sometimes we'll create something that's deliberately designed to provoke and it'll completely go past people. Other times a response will be elicited by something we consider just really silly and inconsequential. It's anybody's guess. I published an underground literary magazine for 8 years. I've always been steeped in the punk, underground, DIY movement, and I just took that sensibility with me to video.
We here at the Abbey hope that you rally behind us in our quest to destroy our sires, the Bavarian Illuminati. We want to replace their iron fist with a big, fluffy bunny.
Shannon and I became close friends about a decade ago. She was also publishing a zine at the time, and our writing was being published in the same circles. My association with Shannon was primarily why I moved to Arkansas.
Well, damn, you sound like our kind of guy already.
I met Andrew Lucarello through Shannon. We became fast friends and roommates. It was Panda who came up with the idea of getting involved in Cass, so, I guess you could say he led me down this dark path.
It's nice to see you one and all, and at the 69th annual foot stomping, holy rolling camp meeting.
Panda has an easy, humble, unpretentious way about him that makes a lot of people like him immediately. He's a great editor and a visionary. A lot of the more outlandish, outre, imagistic stuff on Abbey was his baby. He's pretty much the architect of our whole signature look.
Sometimes the twin clowns have bad politics, but we've talked them out of that. I had to get onto them earlier for supporting the Stalinist purges. However, we've brought them around, and they're seeing things in a whole different light. And I love the twin clowns. They're such sweet dollies, and I love them very, very much. Mwah. Hey, we're threatening your children, Fayetteville. How do you like that?
Shannon was with the show from day one, but early on her role was a lot smaller. In the first 20 episodes, I think she may have appeared in 6. In 2000, her role became more prominent, and her whole ranting, in-your-face style made a radical impact on the look and feel of the show. In short order, she became the most controversial member of the cast and also the most popular.
What?
How's flirt taste?
Like crap. Uh-oh. I violated a rule, boys and girls. Do not eat.
The Abbey of the Lemur continues to slog on and grow and evolve. The show is one part satire and mockery, one part mutant comedy extravaganza, one part unconventional commentary vehicle, with a heady dash of music, experimental art, bad taste, and anything else we feel like throwing into the potpourri that week.
The hood is a wee bit excessive, perhaps.
She's a Jawa.
Yeah.
The desired effect.
Not.
Hello, I'm Shannon Kane. I'd like to talk about evolution. I'm not necessarily talking about Darwin here. If you think I'm going to sit here and clog up the airwaves with a never-ending debate on creationism versus evolution, you're deluded. Instead, I'd like to talk about societal evolution. If a being doesn't evolve, it will die. Even the meanest of intellects can figure this one out. Even the most hardcore opponent of evolution must, by necessity, concede that stagnation leads to death. If a species cannot adapt, it will perish. This is the basic law of nature. And it's a law that some people in this city would apparently like to see repealed. A society is like any other organism. It must continue to adapt and evolve, or it will simply collapse into the tar pits of obscurity. It will die the undignified death it so richly deserves. Which leads me to the topic of marital aids. A store has recently opened in our community. This store does not sell tomatoes, potatoes, widgets, claw hammers, kerosene, or teddy bears. It sells condoms and plastic devices chiefly designed for sexual titillation. It is an adult-oriented store, and people are doing what they always do when such a store comes to our area. They're panicking. Oh, it's so horrible. How can these people tarnish our neighborhood with a store that sells what several other stores in Fayetteville have been selling in broad daylight for years now? Heavens to Murgatroyd, call the police. Well, at least one writer at the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette has recognized the glaring hypocrisy and futility of continuing to harass this store for what it is. Unfortunately, in the same article, Mike Masterson also attacked a television broadcast that I was personally involved with. He asserts that it is absurd to attack this store while so-called offensive programming like the Abbey of the Lemur, the show with which I am personally associated, continues to run on the air. Yes, I'm so awful. I pumped that show into all your homes by force. I personally went into your living rooms at midnight, jammed your remotes, propped your eyes open with toothpicks, and forced you to watch this broadcast. You know better, and I know better. There was nothing about the show in question, despite the media attention that it's garnered of late, that could possibly be deemed inappropriate for a grown adult to view. There was a bit of coarse language and nudity, but you can get the same and worse on Showtime or Cinemax. In another editorial newspaper outburst, a writer referred to me, my co-hosts and guest, as Manson family wannabes. I find that very intriguing. Let's talk about the Manson family for a moment. That particular group featured a gathering of followers, mostly young women, who were ready to die for their leader. They lived communally, just as the New Testament apostles and converts did. They shared their worldly goods with one another. They preached the words of their chosen prophet, loved one another, and more importantly, loved Charles Manson so much that they were willing to go to the electric chair for him. The Bible tells us in John 15:13 that greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. In other words, minus the homicide, the Manson family had more family values and Christian principles than just about any lazy, half-assed so-called Christian that you'll ever scrape out of a church pew today. Given this, I choose to accept this comment not as the snide left-handed attack it was meant to be, but rather as a veiled and cryptic compliment. And speaking of Christian values, I'd like to congratulate the Episcopal Church for doing what it should have done in the 1600s by electing the first openly gay bishop, thus reinforcing the unheard-of notion that homosexuals are people too. The Episcopal Church is walking into the 21st century with dignity and grace. If a gay bishop holds that door open for you too, will you walk through it? Or will you sit there like a stagnant, unchanging lump, clinging to your moth-eaten traditions and pet intellectual fallacies? Churches, like any other organization, must continuously evolve. It took Martin Luther pounding 95 theses into the church door at Wittenberg to make the average pew potato sit up and notice that anything was wrong with a hopelessly corrupt European church system. Take note, nothing is accomplished without change. And speaking of change, to bring it back to the local level, there is now a new sexually oriented store in our area. Patronize it or don't. There are adult-oriented broadcasts coming through your television set. Watch them or don't. But do spare us the reactionary whining and complaining. The times are changing. You're not. Well, that ceased to be our problem a long time ago. This community will either accept change or it'll be crushed beneath the merciless juggernaut of time itself. Fayetteville is changing in many different ways. Some of the changes will be to your liking. Many won't. But if you can't accept diversity and change on some basic level, you'll end up going the way of the dinosaurs. Your bleached bones will be picked over like some sort of weird curio of a bygone era where troglodytes and cavemen were king. Evolve or die. Thank you.
introduce yourself.
My name is Al Vick, and I'm with the new Arkansas Independent Media Center.
Let me see one of those flyers. Show it.
Actually, it's not so much a flyer as a sticker. You can put it on your refrigerator, put it on your windows, you can
Sticker.
put it on your bumper, just about anything you'd like to do with it, really. But most importantly, look us up. The URL is on the top there. We stand for independent journalism, and we're a worldwide network, and we are the local aspect of that for Arkansas.
Hi, it's Billy Bob Thornton. You're watching CAT, Community Access Television, Fayetteville.
When I was young, my mother told me not to question authority. Don't fight the system, she told me. They'll get you every time. My guidance counselor said gas and grapes don't mix. When it was my head I was trying to fix. Mother Nature, it ain't what you told me. It hurts me when you lie. I'm just leaving with what I came with. All the king's rules I'm rearranging. Suing Mother Nature, 'cause I'm jaded. The promise she gave me, I'm through taking. When I was young I stood on a ledge and laughed that God could take me if he asked. Now I deal with mortality, a bad case of reality. And then I thought you could master yourself, pass your problems to someone else. Mother Nature, it ain't what you told me. It hurts me when you lie. I'm just leaving with what I came with. All the king's rules I'm rearranging. Suing Mother Nature, 'cause I'm jaded. The promise she gave me, I'm through taking. I'm just leaving with what I came with. All the king's rules I'm rearranging. Suing Mother Nature, 'cause I'm jaded for life. I'm just leaving with what I came with. All the king's rules I'm rearranging. Suing Mother Nature, 'cause I'm jaded. The promise she gave me, I'm through taking. I'm just leaving with what I came with. All the king's rules